let's get started. And I want to welcome all of you to our second to last virtual internship of the fall semester. We have one more, and we're excited about our session today. We're grateful to have a experienced guest, Mr. Mark Cohen from Pyramid Consulting, and also we'll get into his work helping students through DECA as well. So he's really on both sides. He's in industry and the classroom, which is a benefit to us to hear his perspective on both. We're also joined by Mac Dowd, the implementation specialist here at Rubin, and Amber Caldwell, our sign language interpreter. I'm Danny Rubin. I'm the founder of our company. We're called Rubin. We're based in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we provide online instruction to help students with their writing and speaking skills for college and career opportunities. Teachers, show of Zoom hands. How many of your students send you emails that look like text messages? How many send emails like texts? All right, we see some hands shooting up. So that is, in a nutshell, a lot of the skill that we provide. We teach students effective etiquette, professionalism, so that they can be taken seriously for opportunities. And we're going to get into some of those themes as well in the course of our conversation around digital marketing. So what we're going to do, take a quick pause, and I'm going to share my screen and offer some resource to the teachers. And Mr. Cohen will just hang out for just a second. Don't run off on us. Stay right there. And also make sure to explain what room you're sitting in right now when we get to your bio, okay? Tell them where you are, because you have such an interesting background and you do so many cool things. So let me share my screen first and offer up some resources to teachers. How many of you have been to our sessions before? How many of you this is not your first time? Show of hands if you're returning. And how many of you are you brand new to us? This is your first time here. We always have some new folks. So if you haven't received these resources yet, we'd love to give them to you. We put together a Google Drive folder of 5 exercises for how to handle failure. How many of you think students always need help learning how to handle tough moments, criticisms, setbacks, defeats? So these are how to respond when you don't land the internship, how to reply when people don't answer your emails, how to ask someone for honest feedback, how to tell your own story of resilience, and how to improve how you look in the eyes of others. These are all free. If you don't have them yet, I'll tell you how to get them in just a second. Also, if you don't have this yet, we always give it out. An online presentation checklist, a one-pager on some simple techniques to look your best in an online presentation. Before you go live, in the moment, little things to remember. If you would like to give these resources to your students and to other teachers in your school, please go to the chat right now, type the word interested and your email address. Interested and your email address. And for those who are new to the Rubin community, we love to chat with you briefly over the phone in the next couple of days, really by tomorrow. And I'll explain why in a moment. And just quickly learn about your school and your program, and then give you the resources so you can use them with your students and throughout your building. These are free to pass around. So please put interested in your email, and we'll mention it again at the end in case some folks come late. And we'd love to pass it along to you so you can share these skills with your students. So as you do that, let me continue through our few slides so we can get to our guests. We have one final virtual internship of the fall semester. It's going to be in 2 weeks on December 15th at 12:30 Eastern, the world of the military. And we're talking with, she's called an Operations Specialist 2, a Navy talent scout named Darcy Pretty. And she's going to talk to us about what it means to join the military, or in her case, the Navy, what it's like today, opportunities, benefits, even how you could pursue college while being in the military. So that'll be an interesting way to wrap up our year. And so please, when you see the emails come out about that, make sure to join us. A couple last things. If you're watching this on a recording, you can always get the resources as well. Just send us an email to support@rubineducation.com with the subject line you see below, and we'll get it to you. Okay, so you can get it even if you're not here live. Lastly, everybody who is here live, we're going to send you a certificate tomorrow to show that you were here. You can use it in your portfolio, put it on the wall, whatever you need to do. Well, certificate coming. And also just a quick question. from the teachers. Is anybody going this week, tomorrow, Thursday, to Career Tech Vision? Any hands up or in the chat? Anybody going to Vision? Mac and I, our team, we're headed to New Orleans tomorrow, and we will be at Career Tech Vision, which is the National Career and Technical Education Conference. This year, it's happening in New Orleans. It's been virtual, obviously. We all know why. And now it's back in person. So we're really excited to have a chance to talk to people face-to-face. We're going to bring in our guest just one last second. I want to share one more screen, and we'll bring him into the conversation. For those, again, who are new to us, our company is Rubin, and we provide online instruction for business communication. And these are some of the skills that we cover: email etiquette, phone and video etiquette, networking skills, resume writing, internship and job outreach emails, LinkedIn profile creation. We cover entrepreneurship communication skills like writing for sales and writing website pages, PR, a lot of DECA related stuff, frankly. And we cover a lot of communication for leadership development, client communication and project management communication, report writing, a variety of skills that live in your own LMS so students can practice how to communicate within class instruction. So that's who we are. And with that, let me bring in our special guest, Mr. Mark Cohen. Again, thank you for your time. Start off with your brief bio, catch us up to your career path, how you got to where you are, and also the room that you're sitting in right now.
All right. Thanks, Danny and Mac and everybody for joining. My name is Mark Cohen. My actual title is I'm Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications for Pyramid Consulting. Pyramid Consulting is about a $400 million IT staffing and consulting business based here in Atlanta with offices around the world. How I got here, let's see. We were talking a little bit earlier that if I knew about DECA and what it brought to the table when I was in high school, I probably would have been involved, and I wasn't. But that was 40 years ago, so give me a little credit. I have an undergraduate degree in economics and business from University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. I've got a master's in marketing from Cal State, San Francisco. Spent about 15 years in California working for a variety of nonprofits, as well as startups and some professional sports teams. From there, I was working for the 96 Olympic Committee and in Atlanta for a job. And the last week, I met a Southern girl who is now my wife of 23 years. So I ended up moving from San Francisco to Atlanta because she wasn't going to leave. Since I've been in Atlanta, I have worked for operational roles as well as marketing roles, running marketing groups for companies from internet startups during the dot-com era in the early 2000s through large companies like McKesson, which is a Fortune 5, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, as well as UPS. I've worked for a couple of staffing companies and, again, some pro sports teams, ran my own boutique consulting business. And that's just to get me to this point. I spend my free time with my family. My son's at the University of Georgia. My daughter's a senior in high school, deciding where she's going to go. As Danny mentioned, I am a DECA advisor to North Gwinnett High School, their marketing department here in Gwinnett County, north of Atlanta, Georgia. There I teach, help them out with soft skills, help them prep for DECA competitions. I primarily review manuals and help them, with their writing and things like that. Again, I emphasize the soft skills because that's one of the easiest things to learn, but it's one of the things people always fail to capitalize on. I mean, just looking somebody in the eye, shaking their hand, introducing themselves. It's very easy to do. So I've been doing that. I've also worked with 2 or 3 other high schools in the area on an as-needed basis. I've been a judge at the local, the regional, the state, and the international level. Love it. When I was in high school, DECA was the work release program. Now I look at what you're learning and I'm thinking, I didn't learn some of this stuff until I was in my master's program,
right?
Or in the real world. So
right.
I try to bring what I do every day and what I look for in a candidate to these high school students. Danny didn't want me to tell you about where I'm sitting. One of my other side gigs is I'm a city councilman in Sugar Hill, Georgia. elected in 2003. So I've been in office for 18 years already. I had a meeting downtown today, so I thought instead of running back to my home office, I would just sit in our offices here at City Hall. So I'm actually sitting in our City Hall.
I love it. You know, you're the kind of person who you just make time, right? Some people say they're too busy, and some people just make time, and that's a hard person to find, really. And I hope the students can really appreciate that he's doing a million things, but he still made time for us.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
he just figured out, I'm just going to sit in the council chambers and do this because that's how it's going to just fit in my day. He wasn't going to cancel or say he was bit. He's just going to make it happen. And that's a really defining quality that you would probably want to look for in somebody. Just, are you just going to not make excuses? You're just going to do it. You're just going to do it. Right. And I wanted to ask a question because we talk a lot in our sessions about our listening skills and also, Mark, the power of numbers. At the very beginning, you gave a number for the amount of revenue annually that Pyramid Consulting does. Does anybody know that number? Can anybody put the number in the chat of the dollar amount that every year that his company does? That's a big number. Who heard that number? Can someone put in the chat for me? And I'll explain why we're doing that, because when you're putting out your own resume, we should be putting our own numbers, right? If you host a fundraiser, Mark, there we go. Thank you, Sherry. 400 million. Mark, do you think it's better on a resume to say we raised a lot of money, or should we say we raised $5,000? Which one's more effective to you?
More effective is when you have a quantifiable number, something you can go back to. So people tend to go to their resume and just make it a laundry list of things they do, which is basically, what is your job? My job is ABC.
Exactly.
But I don't care about that because everybody's job is ABC. I want to know how you took that and actually applied it. So I increased revenue 22%. I raised $100,000, 22% more than the previous year.
Exactly. So we talk a lot about owning our numbers in here because our numbers make us different. Everything else can be very generic. So our numbers make us different. Now, I'm going to do another screen share with our guest. And as I do that, if you could start putting your own questions in the Q&A, that would be great. And we'll start to pick your questions. As you write your questions, put your name and your school so we can properly attribute the question back to you. So start putting your questions for our guest in the chat. And as you do so, I'm going to ask a question of my own. Do one more screen share. And I talk a lot in our webinars about the value of research, about looking people up, understanding their business. And I was on the Pyramid site learning about your services, the IT staffing, the infrastructure. Explain to us first, like generally what the business does, and then how marketing fits in. Like, how do you add your skill set to help the business thrive?
Sure. So Pyramid Consulting is made up of 4 divisions. The first one is our staffing division, which is really our bread and butter. What we do is we do what's called contingent workforce staffing, which means we bring skilled IT resources to Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies to work on special projects. So they're basically our employees, but they go to a large company to work every day to work on a project for them. And they can be anywhere from 6 months to, we've got people who've probably been at the client for 3 to 5 years. Okay. So that's our first division. Our second division is our solutions division. And I'm actually going through a rebrand right now. So in January, we're going to announce a new name for that group.
Great.
The solutions division is IT infrastructure, application services, custom building, digital transformation skills. So we bring talent to these companies to help them migrate to the cloud, integrate Microsoft services, a variety of different things, customer and user experience. It's all on a case-by-case basis. It's not really off-the-shelf type things. We've got a third division called GenSpark. GenSpark probably would fit very good with what we're talking about. GenSpark is an organization that we have that goes out and finds basically new graduates or people early in their careers and helps them move into IT and STEM related activities. So teaching them Java, cybersecurity, those types of things. And we primarily target underrepresented minorities. We're an Indian-owned diversity MBE company, and we try to give back to the communities we serve. So we're not looking for just the general, we're not just looking for me. We're looking for, somebody from a minority group who might not have the skill set and wants to be able to further their career, might have just gotten a college degree, but really doesn't have the application skills that they need to go actually get their first job.
Okay.
And then our final group is called Scale Up. And this is basically an RPO, which means that
what does that stand for? What is RPO?
It's recruitment processing organization. So we'll go and we'll recruit people, but we'll do their payrolling, we'll hire, so that we basically badge them for your company, but we do the payroll and we bring them in and do that type of thing.
Okay. And so tell us about, you said you're going to do a rebrand of one of your sectors.
Correct.
Tell us about the rebrand. Tell us about the marketing process.
Sure.
Like sort of the mindset, the approach. Get into the marketing side of the business for us.
So in my role, like I said, I'm global marketing and communications. So under my umbrella, my staff does general marketing, all your foundational things, PowerPoint, sales brochures, briefs, white papers. I also have competitive research and analysis. So we go do research on companies for our sales team. We also search out the right market segments and the right companies that we want to go after and the right people within those companies. We have graphic design. We have social media. We've got website. We have events, and we do a lot of events. And these can be anything from webinars to trade shows to major corporate sponsorships. We do a lot of everything in between. So if they can put a marketing hat around it, I've got it. I also do communications. So that's our town hall meetings, our internal and external outreach, our press releases, all of our community involvement, our industry associations, our sponsorships. That's kind of what I have.
Okay.
I've got people in the US and in India who fulfill all of that on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. Okay. Like I was looking at the Pyramid Consulting Twitter, and I see, and I can share my screen, but I see that there's a, like you're doing a Giving Tuesday promotion. Like what pieces are you involved in? Like, do you have some knowledge to speak about some of the projects happening right now? If I go to the Twitter handle.
Yeah. If you were to go to Twitter, you go to LinkedIn, and I definitely focus on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So right here, if we look at Pyramid Consulting, what we're trying to do is tell people, give back to the community. Look, we're all lucky. We've got jobs. We work for a good company. Things are going well. If you don't give back to the community, you're not going to gain anything. You might make money. You might have a job. You might grow in your professional life. But if you don't give back to your community, you're really not getting the most out of everything. When you mentioned earlier, there's an old adage that if you want to get something done, find the person who has no time.
Right.
And it's kind of humorous and it's counterintuitive, but that's really it, because you got people who just have a hard time saying no because we want to give back. We pride ourselves at Pyramid Consulting about giving back to the communities we serve. So we created an organization called Pyramid Cares. And during the peak of COVID, we collected PPE and sent it to communities and hospitals and police departments and those in need throughout the US as well as India. We sent machinery and equipment to staff and fulfill the needs in the hospitals in India. We raised money. We do something every year called Founders Day, which I started last year, which is on the day the company was founded. We go and each team goes in and does something. My team went and we restocked a food bank. And we got together as a group. We had lunch. We went and restocked a food bank because we can walk out of there and say, I'm not only proud of what we just did by helping the community, but I'm proud of my company for giving me time to do this.
Yes.
So when you look for a job, always look for an organization that not only takes care of themselves, but takes care of their employees and takes care of the community. Because if the companies don't give back, it's very difficult.
That's really good advice. I have brought up, if you can see it, I brought up your LinkedIn page. It says, first of all, 160,000 followers. So your team is certainly putting in work to develop an audience here. Tell us the approach around the LinkedIn page, sort of the marketing concept behind it. Like, why do you maintain such a robust LinkedIn company page? Like, what's the end goal here?
Sure.
What are you trying to achieve?
I call LinkedIn Facebook for business. You're not going to see what people had for lunch, but you're going to see what's going on in their lives in the community. And to give you an idea, I started with this company as a consultant 2 years ago. We had less than 60,000 followers. So we've picked up through
How did you do it? Let's tell the students, like, how did you get at 100,000 in 2 years?
Basically, by putting out content that's of interest. You put out things like, we're hiring, learn about this, increase your education, read about things that are going on in the industry. We also run a number of webinars where we get industry speakers and industry experts talking about a topic of interest. And that's a big draw as well. So what I would recommend that each of you do is, if you're going out and you're looking for a job, or you're looking to sell to a company, go to their LinkedIn page, go to their website, dig around in there, see what they're doing, what makes them tick, and see how they can help you.
This is great. I think I really wanted to help students see, day to day, what are companies doing to market? You're focusing. And and we have a couple of questions I'll get to in just a moment. I want to underscore, you said it and you're living it out. You've decided to go sort of harder and more focused on one platform rather than try to do all things on all platforms, because it's hard to maintain a robust presence everywhere. You've decided, we really want to go at our core audience, and our population would be more likely on LinkedIn. Is that correct, that you've made that strategic decision?
Right. Now, what we've done is we focus primarily on LinkedIn. Now, we do have Facebook, we do have Twitter, we do Instagram. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to target the people that are going to be most pertinent to what we're trying to do. So if I'm looking at a job candidates are on LinkedIn and they're on Instagram. They're not really looking for jobs and looking for data on Facebook. If I'm looking for a customer, a client, the big corporations are not really going to Instagram to see who they're going to buy from. They're going to LinkedIn because, like I said, it's Facebook for business. So we put out white papers or quick reads or industry statistics for clients saying, hey, here's what we do. Here's what we can bring to you. But more importantly, here's how we solve your problem.
Right.
If we did everything about us, nobody cares. I can sit here all day and pound my chest. No one cares. But if I talk about how I'm going to solve your problem, now you're interested. That's your hook.
Did everybody raise your hand if you just heard that last point? You could sit there and brag about yourself all day, but if you're not solving somebody else's problem, they're probably not going to want to listen to you, right? It's always, how are you making someone else's life better, easier, simpler, right? And I think it's really important what he just said, that he is focusing in the social media environments where his target audience is most likely to be, right? So he has said, and this is such an important concept that maybe you could underscore or add on to, that it's okay to not speak to everybody, right? It's okay to find your audience and just focus on that audience and not worry about the rest of the world, but just know your people and who you want to target and attract, and just focus on them. Find that slice of the population. Would you agree, Mr. Cohen?
I absolutely agree. There's what's called the shotgun approach, which is let's throw out everything and see what sticks and make somebody happy somewhere. It's not going to help you get to the level that you want to get to. So what you need to do is you need to start to do the analytics. So we look at it and say, all right, who's our target market? We're not looking to work with somebody a company that does $1 million. So we set in revenue targets. We say we're going after companies in the $100 million to $10 billion range. So right there, I've now cut the universe down from here to here. Now I look at it and say, I want to go after companies in that market, that revenue band, who are in these 5 industries. So maybe healthcare, telecom, manufacturing, utilities. And what I do there is now I take that population and bring it down until I get to a point where I am going after a very niche target, people that I actually want to do business with, that I can bring solutions to, that are going to solve their problems. If I try to do everything for everyone, it's about me, not about them.
Oh boy. Raise your hand if you're understanding what he's saying. I think this is like the most essential advice in marketing, is to not try to be all things to all people, but to understand you want to talk to a slice of the population that needs to hear your message. We do have a couple of questions. First from Rhonda Williams from Orange High School in New Jersey, I believe. What motivates you to keep you going every day? Mr. Cohen? What motivates you? Why do you do it all?
Well, if you talk to my family, it's about the money. But if you talk to me, it's about, I just like being able to help people achieve something. Like I said, I started out as a consultant before I went into corporate America. I don't want to do the same thing every day. I might be doing the same foundational things, but every day I like to do something. I like to learn something, and I like to be able to close my computer at night and say, I achieved something. So it might be, well, we started at 160,000 followers on LinkedIn, and when I closed the computer, we were at 161. I achieved something. So, right now, there is, because of the Great Resignation, there are so many open jobs. Companies are clamoring for people, preferably with skills, but I think some companies will take anybody. Do something that you love. Don't do something just because it pays you a lot of money. And if I could go back and tell my 18-year-old self that, I'd probably still be where I am today, but I might have taken a different path.
Yeah, I was going to say, you still end up doing the same work, but how you get there might shift. We have a question from Renee Hillgardner in Texas. Thank you, Renee, for being here. Mr. Cohen, when considering marketing in today's economic climate, what are the, let's say, top 3 or a strategy to recommend to small and medium businesses? What should the business owners today be thinking about into 2022?
Well, I think that COVID has done a number on so many large and small businesses. Small businesses have to adapt. And, in some ways they can adapt quicker. And in other ways, it takes them a little bit longer because they go in with a business plan and they try to stick to it. What you need to do is really need to understand who your audience is, who's your market, what makes you different. Find those differentiators. If you're the same as everybody else around you, then your only differentiator is price. And for those of you who are in school, you know that if price is your only differentiator, you're a commodity. And the last thing you want to do is be a commodity. So small and mid-sized enterprises, what I tell our sales guys who are selling to that market is figure out what your client needs and produce and give them what they need. Market it directly to them. Don't talk about how I got the best X in the world. Talk about my X will make you Y.
Wow. Let's go back. Let's use our listening skills again. No, that was really great. I mean, you said, if price is the only differentiator, you are a what? He used a word that starts with C. And if you want to Google how it, there you go. Right on.
There you go,
I wonder if you had trouble spelling it, commodity. It's right. That is absolutely right. You're just another player in the space, and all you can stand on is price. And someone could just undercut your price. And what do you really have to stand on?
It's another adage. If you win them on price, you lose them on price. There are even big companies that will go in and undercut to get a sale, and they think they just did something great, but it's going to cost them more to service that account. And it's very hard for companies to say, companies don't like to fire their customers. And the thing is, they need to fire their customers.
Wow. This is such good advice. Just real world advice. Raise your hand if you're getting some good advice out of this conversation as a future marketing professional, perhaps. A lot of really good stuff that is timeless, right? These skills are timeless. Find your audience, differentiate yourself. That's always going to be the case. Yeah. Another question for you, since you are a DECA advisor, you wear that hat and you've sat in the judge's seat. Okay. Just broadly, let's talk first about public speaking competitions. Okay. At any CTSO. And by the way, if you're an advisor here for any student organization, please put your group in the chat right now so we can see which groups you advise or that you're a part of. But let's talk about presentation skills, speaking skills. What wins? What wins?
Knowing your topic, knowing your information. What I try to explain to people is if you're doing a presentation, I mean, you can walk into a DECA competition and you can talk about a topic that you have absolutely no interest in. I don't know that there's a lot of people that I work with who say, you know what, I really want to do the automotive sales skills, but they do it because they want to get out there and get involved in DECA. Learn about what you're talking about. It's tough to just BS and talk off the cuff unless you really understand what you're talking about. So go in and research. This is whether you're talking about a company, whether you're talking about a topic. The more you know, the more you've got in your head, whether you use it or not, gives you that confidence level, because now you're not thinking, oh my God, the next question is going to mess me up.
Right.
Because you can talk. And even if you don't know the answer, if you know enough keywords and enough about the industry and enough about the topic, you can carry on a conversation. Look at me. Look what I've been doing.
Do you think that carries over to the real world? You're in a boardroom doing a pitch for the CEO, and they're going to catch you if you don't know. I mean, are these applicable in the real world too?
It's applicable in the real world, but let's just look at the level you go to. There are conversations you can have and meetings you can have where if you just have the basics, you can talk the talk. But when you're going up against a decision maker or a CEO, you have to have a little bit more than just the basics, because they're going to ask you questions that, are going to get you to the core. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a boardroom knowing I got it down. I got it. I walk in, the CEO asks me a question from left field, and I'm like, I got to get back to you on that one.
Right.
And that's not what you want to do with your CEO.
Yeah. Because that right then and there, you may have lost it. In that moment, they may have said, let's talk to the next person.
And there's internal customers and external customers. Internal gives you a little bit more leeway. They'll be more critical. External, you might just only get your one shot.
Right. One other question I really want to stress, we have DECA, we have FCCLA, we have FBLA, we have lots of different student organizations here, Skills USA. Thank you, Sherry. So let's talk about whether it's like a written competition, or maybe you're making something graphically, or you're like, when it's something that's not spoken, but it's something that you're going to observe, you're going to read, you're going to look at. What wins there?
If you're going to put something on a PowerPoint, I personally like to use few words, no more than 3 bullets. Don't put complete sentences, because the more information you have on a slide, think about what you guys do every day. You look up at a presentation. If there's a lot of words up there, you're reading the words. You're not paying attention to the speaker. You just want to have nothing more than prompts so you can talk about each of those bullets. I like to go with pictures. If I can represent something pictorially versus putting a word, it's much easier for me. I mean, if you're going to do a leave behind PowerPoint, maybe you have a version that has more context to it. But, I've watched people in DECA competitions go in and they'll have the board and it's got so much stuff on it that I can't even focus on what they're talking about. As you can see, I talk with my hands, but if they're pointing all over the place, I'm just focusing on their hands or the corner or that shiny object, and I don't hear a word they're saying. And if I don't hear what they're saying, they're not going to get high scores. The other thing is, when you're doing your presentations, read the criteria, because if you use the words on the rubric when you're presenting, you will definitely get more points, because a lot of the judges are not professional judges. They're going to look at it and go, oh yeah, they said that word. They said that context. So I'm going to rate them higher because they actually said those words. Don't say what you think they want to hear. Say what they want to hear.
Yeah. They're not, you don't even have to guess about it. They're telling you exactly what they want to hear.
I've scored both kinds. And I show people, if you come in and you do this, you're going to get this score. If you come in and just change these words to mirror what's on the rubric, you're going to get another 10 points. And 10 points is the difference between making it to that stage and not.
And how do you think that concept translates to the real world? Is it like knowing the terminology of the industry that you're talking to? Like, what about using certain keywords matters when it's real dollars and cents?
You want to understand, and, don't walk into a presentation and just throw out a lot of buzzwords.
Right.
Like I'll give you buzzwords I hear all the time, even internally, and I question. IoT, Internet of Things, digital transformation. Okay. My printer goes through digital transformation. Major corporations go through digital transformation. It means something different to every person. So you can't just use the word. You have to understand the context in what your client brings to the table. So when you're trying to sell something to them or trying to explain something to them, know what's important to them. So if they define IoT as one thing, then you better talk about it the way that they understand it and then expand on it. Don't talk about what you think it is, because they're like, oh no, that's not me. Because IoT is something as simple as Alexa, or in a factory, it's the way the lights come on and off, or the electricity, they adjust the electrical flow. And if you go into a retail establishment, they don't care about the way the electricity flows, but it's the same thing. It's still Internet of Things.
I love that. And I think, again, it speaks to what you said before, which is focus on them, focus on their needs, focus on their world. The more you can talk about their world, the more they're going to trust and appreciate what it is you're offering them, because they feel like they're not just being sold the same pitch with nothing custom to it. You've taken your time.
That goes back to the research piece, Danny, because I can't tell you in my career, now it doesn't happen at Pyramid, but in my career, how many salespeople have just walked into an account thinking, oh, I know that account, or they know what we do, and they missed the mark completely. And I'll give you a great example. I worked for a very large corporation at one point, and I was brought in as an expert on a niche strategy. And we went to a large pharmaceutical manufacturer, and we're going in, and we brought like 20 people, and we're sitting in this room with their C-level executives, and we're going to make this major multi-million-dollar pitch. And the sales guy kept explaining who we were and what we did. We do this, we do that. We're here, we're this big, we can do that. For about 15 minutes, the executive sponsor at the client stood up and said, that's great. We know who you are. Don't waste our time. Let's get to the meat. Okay, great. Sales guy gets back up, 5 more minutes. Executive sponsor stands up again and says, okay, great. We know who you are. We know what you do. Enough. Let's talk about how you're going to help us. Flip through this thick PowerPoint deck and said, slide 24. We're all scrambling. Oops, slide 24. Oh, that's my slide. I got up, talked about how what we did was going to help them achieve their objective. Meeting flowed smoothly the rest of the time. We go to leave the meeting after 2 hours in there. The entire team is like, Mark, this is horrible. This was the worst presentation. We screwed it up. There's no chance here. 3 days later, we got a phone call. We won the deal. It's changing people's mindsets. There are people who are so comfortable talking about themselves and what they do that they miss what everybody else needs.
Wow. What a great anecdote as we start to wrap up our conversation, although it could go on forever. I love this. Can we go to the chat? Tell me one key idea that Mr. Cohen told you in this conversation. He said so many nuggets here about marketing, about digital marketing, about finding an audience, about presentation skills. Tell me something you learned in the chat. And as we do that, we're gonna do a writing exercise together, which I'm sure our guests will appreciate, since we said the world needs more and more soft skills every day. So I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna show you something. Where did it go? There it is. Too many screens open right now. Let's talk about professional writing in text messages. Can everybody see my screen okay? Mark, you can see this? Yeah,
I see it.
Okay. So as you put or the teacher puts in your wisdom that you learned, let's also look at what I'm showing you here. Let's say that you're in a text exchange with an employer related to an interview or an internship or a job shadow. It happens all the time, whether it's email, texting, whatever form it takes. Let's say the employer says, are you still able to make the job interview on Tuesdays at 11? And what do you notice about this text? Is it all proper grammar? Are the words spelled out? Or would you say this is abbreviation and shorthand, text speak, as it's become known? Now, what should you do in this moment? You're applying for this job, right? You don't have it yet. You don't know the boss. You're not friends. You need to make a good first impression, second impression, right? So how would you respond to this text message? What would you write in a text? What would be your response? Can you show me in the chat? Can I have a couple students try this out and show me what should your response look like to this text? I'd love to see what you think. And Mr. Cohen, what do you think about maintaining professional standards in all cases, regardless of how the other person communicates with you? Because your reputation is up here all the time. What do you think about this type of exercise?
I think it's a great exercise. At this stage, this is still the interview phase. At this point, you want to make the best impression. You don't want to come across so stiff and stuffy, but this is not the time to take off the jacket you always want to dress up. It's easier to dress down later. So for me, I look at this, although they wrote it very casually, I would still respond in a professional manner. Once I know the people and they hire me and I'm there and I've got camaraderie, then I can respond in a more anecdotal or I'll call it Gen Z version.
And well, again, if anybody's willing to give it a shot, show me in the chat what you think. Thank you. There it is. Thank you, Michelle. That looks lovely. And let's also take it to the job itself, Mr. Cohen. Like, you have a marketing client and you're friends with them, and it's casual, it's comfortable. But do you think there's still a line you shouldn't step over, where if they're showing you all kinds of shorthand, abbreviation, emojis, is it a gray area where you have to judge the relationship? Should you always be proper? What do you think? It becomes a little wishy-washy, but do you think there's a standard that we should maintain as the vendor servicing the client?
As a vendor, it's still a professional relationship. So if I'm writing to somebody, even if I know them well, I might put a little social commentary at the beginning, but it still has to be professional, because in this case, I'm representing the company. I'm not representing me, So in this, right, I want to be a little bit more upscale and professional, as we go through this exercise. Now, we can finish this discussion, and Danny, you and I can get on the phone and we're chatting, talking about school, talking about all these different things, very casual, laid back, because now it's just Mark and Danny. It's not Pyramid Consulting and Ruben.
Right. And it's also not, remember, text messages, emails, they're saved forever.
And they will be misinterpreted. Everything you write will be misinterpreted.
That, and they follow you forever. They can be archived, reviewed. That's why we got to watch what we say, even if it's just casual conversation. Once you type, especially within the context of a job under your work email, that's your own.
Don't use emojis. Do not use emojis.
Okay, do not. And there we go. Do not use emojis. We'll do just a quick wrap up, and then we'll finish up with our special guest, who's been so fantastic. Again, for the teachers who missed it at the jump, we have a Google Drive, a free Google Drive of exercises for how to handle failure. Simple exercises to do in the classroom, good warm-up exercises, homeroom stuff to learn how to communicate when things don't go your way, because rarely do they ever go like you planned. That's life. And we also have an online presentation checklist for how to give strong presentations for DECA, for FBLA, for class, for student council, whatever's going on. So if you missed it at the beginning and you'd like these resources for your classroom and to give to your colleagues, please go to the chat right now, type the word interested and your email address. And if you are new to the Ruben community, we love to have a quick phone call, likely by tomorrow, Wednesday, to say hello, learn about your program, and help you make sense of our resources with your students. So if you'd like the resources and you missed it at the beginning, please request it now. We will get it out to you shortly with a Google Calendar invite, or an invite on your calendar for 5 minutes. And if the time doesn't work, just request a new time and we'll work within your schedule. Okay. Now, lastly, one more webinar coming up in 2 weeks to finish out the year of 2021 on the world of the military with a recruiter from the Navy. So please join us for that conversation. If you'd like today's recording and you're watching, if you'd like the resources that we mentioned and you're watching on a recording, email us there. We'll get it out to you. Everyone's getting a certificate for being here. We'll send that out on Wednesday morning. And finally, if you're going to Career Tech Vision, the National CTE Conference in New Orleans, please stop by our booth. I don't know where it is in the New Orleans Convention Center, but it's somewhere in the bowels of that building. Please come find us. We'd love to see you, put faces to names, and have an actual human conversation because they've been hard to come by over the last couple of years. Mr. Cohen, I'll give you the final words of wisdom. You've already given us so much, but I'm sure you got something else up there to leave the students with today.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is follow your passion. Do something that you enjoy. One of the interesting things I tell people about marketing is a foundational skill. Doesn't make a difference what industry you're in. It doesn't make a difference what your actual job is. You're always marketing and using those same foundational skills, whether they're public speaking skills, whether it's writing, whether it's research, whether it's looking for your right audience. So you can take that, and I've done it. I've foundational skills. I've worked in pharmaceuticals, logistics, banking, pro sports, staffing, nonprofit, you name it. I've probably done it. And you can learn the product, you can learn the service, you can learn what the company does, but a foundational skill like marketing is going to serve you extremely well. I've had a great time. I hope I've answered your questions. And if you have additional questions, you're more than welcome to share my information. I will answer, talk to whoever about anything.
Thank you so much. Can we have a show of hands as a thank you to our special guest, councilman and marketing professional, DECA advisor? You wear a lot of hats, and we're grateful that you spent time with us today. I thought it was a super enlightening conversation, especially for students who want to go into marketing. You shared the real honest truth about the industry and how to be successful. So we appreciate it. We hope we'll see you all in 2 weeks for the military conversation as we conclude our fall. And we will pick up a new schedule of webinars starting in January. So we're not going away. We'll just take a break for the holidays, and then we will resume in January. But join us in 2 weeks. Until then, hope you all stay safe. Good luck in class, and we will see you very soon.